So now we shift venues, locations in verse 21. It says, "Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coasts of Tyre and Sidon." So if you have the Mediterranean Sea coast here, with Jerusalem down here, Capernaum right here, Sea of Galilee, Tyre and Sidon are up here on the Mediterranean Sea coast. These are not Jewish fishing villages or traditional Israelite locations. He's going to what would be gentile vacation spots out on the seacoast, the Mediterranean Sea. This is where you go to traditionally unwind and relax. And in Mark's account, it tells that he didn't want anyone to know they were going there. He wanted to keep it a secret, although it was impossible to keep it a secret. So while he's there with his apostles, verse 22 says, "Behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coasts." Mark's account says she was a Greek, a Syro-Phoenician woman. So she's not an Israelite. She's not in the house of Israel. She's of a different nationality, probably a different race. She comes to Jesus, and look at her plea. "Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou Son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil." Now, this is a difficult miracle, one of the more difficult miracles to digest because of modern cultural sensitivities that we have today. His answer in verse 23 is, "But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us." Can you picture this woman? She's probably a little desperate in behalf of her daughter's well-being, and she's pleading, and Jesus answered her not a word. Most of us, culturally, our image of what the Christ-like thing to do would be to have him turn to her in this next verse and say, "And it came to pass that he said unto the woman, Great is thy faith, be it unto thee according to thy word," or something along those lines. But instead, we can't fit Jesus into a box that we've prepared for him in our mind. We can't make him do what we always think he should do. And in this case, he didn't answer her a word. He doesn't respond at all, which means she now goes to the disciples, the apostles, and she's pleading with them, "Do something, have him do something." So they come to Jesus and say, "Can you send her away? She's kind of bothering us, maybe a bit annoying at this point." And verse 24, "But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Interesting. So now this woman has had two different responses from Jesus. One, silence, and B, no. These miracles are for the children of the house of Israel, not for those outside yet at this phase. So at that point, she would be justified, culturally speaking, at standing up, spitting at his feet, and walking away in a rage, muttering under her breath how unfair this was, and being offended. I love this lady. Look at her response. "Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me." She had every reason to walk away from Jesus, offended, frustrated. She hadn't gotten what she had wanted. And she could even claim that she had maybe been treated with disrespect or been pushed aside unjustly. But she doesn't. Instead, she comes now worshiping him with a follow-up plea, "Lord, help me."
But even then, he still doesn't immediately answer her request. He gives her one more opportunity to prove her faithfulness.
And so he says, "It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs." This is a hard saying. And again, she could get up very easily and be offended at this point, but she doesn't. She said, "Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table." And now Jesus said unto her, Woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that hour. Clear back in 2007 in General Conference, Elder Richard G. Scott gave an amazing talk called using the supernal power of prayer, or the supernal gift of prayer. And in that talk, Elder Scott talks about 3 types of responses that you get every time you ask a blessing or make a petition of the Lord. You're either going to get silence, you're going to get a no, or you're going to get yes. I think it's fascinating with this particular miracle that this woman got all 3 answers within that very short sequence of events in this chapter. She was given silence, and silence is not an inherent no, nor is it a yes. Silence seems to be this invitation to keep digging, keep asking, keep pondering, keep stretching. Then she's told no, but it's not a hard no, like the no given to, say, Joseph Smith when asked by Martin Harris if he could take the 116 pages. He was told no, and then he asked again, and he was told no, and then he asked again, and he was told, okay, you're not going to take no for an answer, so you can take them. So there's a subtle difference there with this experience where she's told in a soft way, yeah, these miracles are for the house of Israel. And some of you would be thinking, wait a minute, the centurion back in Matthew chapter 8 was allowed to have his servant or son, whatever it was, healed, and you'd be right. There's the man with the legion of devils over in the Decapolis region who seems to have been a Gentile, and he was healed. You're right. There are some occasions where there are these exceptions. I love the fact that this woman keeps at it, and her petition and her meekness and her worshipfulness, they strengthen as you watch this story progress down through this sequence until she gets her yes. Now, here are some things that are helpful to kind of work through when trying to digest and make sense of this story. What would have happened if that woman would have come in, made a request, as often happens with others in the house of Israel when they're making these kinds of requests? What would have happened if he had instantaneously given her her request and she had left? She would have been happy, elated, gone home with a miracle. It would have been wonderful. But what happens when she now leaves that experience after having worked through that trial of faith, through those hard sayings, wrestling with those issues culturally, and now she walks out the door with her yes? I don't know. I could be wrong on this. But the Lord knows what's best for each individual person. And sometimes it's not right to have them go through that long process, and so he quickly heals. And other times, he lets them stretch and reach and grow in order, I think, to exercise and strengthen their faith and their devotion to God and their trust in him. And I think that if that Syrophoenician woman were standing here today, I don't think she would mention to us, oh, let me tell you how awful this trial of faith was. Let me tell you how hard it was to hear some of those sayings that and to feel ignored at first. I don't think she would mention any of that. I think she would talk about how good God is and how much we can put our complete trust in him, in his methods, and in his timing. I think she would testify to us that Jesus knows what he's doing when it comes to when and how and in what manner he answers our petitions and our pleas and our requests for his miracles and his help. So even though on the surface this looks like a really difficult miracle to reconcile because of some of the hard sayings, at a 10,000-foot overview look, this is one of the most profound miracles, because at the end of the day, I'm the Syrophoenician woman symbolically, and you are too, when we come to the Lord in prayer, because we're going to occasionally get this same process where he doesn't just instantaneously give us what we ask for. So it's our invitation to dig a little deeper into our faith. So in the rest of chapter 15, you get Jesus now returning from Tyre-Sidon area back down into the Galilee, and he goes up into a mountain, and a great multitude came to him. And again, there were many who were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and were cast down at the feet of Jesus, and he healed them. You'll notice there doesn't seem to be this long, drawn-out process for most of them. At least if there was, we don't get any word of it, which to me points to the personal nature of the Savior's love and of his care for each of us, that he knows what you need. And if you've asked in faith and haven't gotten something, or if you have asked in faith and you've received it, we've got to trust that he really does know what he's doing here with what is best for our eternal welfare.